I would like to say that you should all be smarter, but don't know how to could be smarter. We don't know anything about how to improve intelligence, and as well, we don't really know anything about how to improve the industriousness either. But I can tell you that people who are industrious come up with a strategy for solving the problem. That's ahead of them. If you know something about yourself, sit on your bed one night and say, "You said you got to mean this, like you got to be destroyed. This is no game. This. What's one thing I'm doing wrong? Then no, I'm doing wrong. And I could face that would face. You may turn that. You will answer. And it won't be what you want, but it will be necessary one. In this video, we will learn some of his best kept secrets for maximizing focus and achieving long-term success, so that you can study smarter, not harder. Now, I have some tips to fix the thing you reach every day. Cause will tell you things about those are trivial. Right? You get up, you brush your teeth, and you have your breakfast. You have your routines that you go through every day, where those roughly constitute 50% of your life. And we will think, well, this Monday not to be attention to them. No, it's not exactly wrong. The thing you do every day, the smart thing you think you do. Hence, the all you have to do is really arithmetic. We make an average of 35,000 decisions every single day. We can imagine a little resistance between a state of mental overload that can impede a person's ability to continue making decisions. As McCarthy's daughter Lisa McLean does, the more decisions you have to make, the more fatigue you develop and the more difficult it can become. This mental enhancement can lead to poor choices, procrastination, or even to a tendency to avoid decisions altogether. One effective way to reduce decision fatigue is by simplifying daily routines, such as planning meals in advance, maintaining a consistent wardrobe, or establishing structural habits. Additionally, breaking down complex choices into smaller, manageable steps can make decision-making feel less overwhelming, helping individuals conserve mental energy for more important tasks. I can tell you that people who not just come up with a strategy for solving the problem that's ahead of them, and that they do whatever they can do to stick the strategy. So, for example, if you sat down today or tomorrow for a couple hours, 3 hours, and you feel in a rule calendar whatever you happen to use a strategy for studying, and list out when all your assessment are due and all of that, and when you're going to sit down and study, then you won't be in a position we have to cram for 10 hours a day hopelessly right before in person exam. It's also a very effective way of studying, by the way. I mean, first of all, people who cram for 10 hours are saying they're studying for 10 hours, but they really are, because I can't study for 10 hours. I don't have the power of concentration not when I measure that for that period of time. I can measure about 3 hours of intense intellectual activity before I'm ready done. Stable in functions in human neuroscience varies by learning, where sessions are spread out over time, can be just as effective as math learning. This approach is memory retention and recall by encoding information into long-term memory. Research clearly show that students who space out their studying perform better on assessment taken weeks later compared to those who cram. In addition to space learning, getting enough sleep plays a crucial role in learning and memory. According to the sleep foundation, sleep deprivation hinders the brain's ability to create new pathways for recently learned information, making it harder to retain knowledge. And also the case that if you study and then sleep and study and then sleep and then study and then sleep and you space out, then you're more likely to remember. And there's so much more likely to that. You're much more likely to remember if you try to recall the material, and so highlighting that in something is very useful by reading, closing the book, summarizing what you read before opening the damn book. That's useful. And the reason for that is that you're practicing remembering. And that's what you have to practice. If you're practicing memorization, you have to practice remembering. You don't just go over the thing over and over. That will help you with recognition memory, but somebody will help you with recall memory. The best thing you can do is read and write every day. couple hours every day, write about things you find watches, and see if you can discover what you believe to be true. And that will be your foundation. It's unbelievably practical. Research published by Jackson V. Wastad of Brigham Young University explore how reading literary fiction enhances a person's ability to understand others, a skill known as the theory of mind. This refers to the human capacity to recognize that others have beliefs and desires different than their own. In the study, participants were divided into groups and decided different reading materials. Afterward, they took a test measuring their ability to perceive other emotions. The results showed that those who read literary fiction scored significantly higher than those who did not read at all. So, what seems to happen in story is they distill. So they watch people watch people, and they tell story about what they see, but they leave a lot of the story. Everything is boring, hopefully. And then more and more story about certain things get sort of animated, and then maybe a crutch of scratches come along and write something really interesting. Profile culture transformations. And then you say, well, that's fiction. And then you say, well, that's not true, because it's fiction. But then maybe that's right. Maybe it's more than true. Because you want the truth. The truth is mundane reality, and you are already got as matters, and you want it is distillation of interesting experience, and you might think, well, what is interesting? Well, the answer is you don't know. That's the thing, that's so cool. When you think about behavior, you tend to think about voluntary behavior, but motivational style will. This habit are activated depending on the situation. Autonomic response. So, for example, when you food deprived and you start to think about food and start to organize your behavior towards food as an and to receive the world. That way you will also prepare for food. And so it's useful to think about motivated style as a micro personality. According to an article from Condition Today titled The Scientific Truth Behind Fake It Till You Make It. Mental imagery and actual perception stay common neural circuits, so they have different firing dynamics. This phenomenon is explained by his law, which states that neurons that fire together wire together. In other words, if you do something in association with something else, the two things will get interlinked at a neural level. This principle highlights the brain ability to strengthen neural connections through repetition and association. For example, if someone repeatedly visualizes themselves speaking confidently in public, their brain starts to reinforce the same neural pathways used in actual public speaking, potentially improving their real life performance. Even when you're just walking to where you want to go, you are successfully walking there. Your brain trusts what you're doing. Two circuits that are activated while you are doing it, and if you what you are doing result in the result you desire, then the dopamine flows. Those little neurons are active and make them grow and flourish. And so, as you practice something that's working, the circuit that is activated as you are practicing is bad in dopamine, and that makes it stronger, and that feels good. It's growth. It's but a positive motion. As a positive motion move you forward, but also encourage you to develop a habit of that practice. And so, one of the things I would really will say is don't make a habit of pursuing things that are good for you, because you build that into that. What happens if you become addicted to something, you believe the monster inside you. That's growth. It's there. It's after one's goal, despite everything else, not a good outcome. You know that you withstand suffering. Let's say your life has to have some meaning. Okay, well, that's mean a lot of things. It mean that part of way that you overcome suffering is by making suffering into something. And I mean that fantastically, I mean that technically, you make a mistake because you're suffering. You learn something about it. You don't make a mistake again. In a study on impressive writing with 258 participants, research found that those who encourage into embrace discomfort felt a greater sense of achievement and were more likely to remain to encourage. and receive journaling into their daily life, compared to those who were simply trying to focus on a task. Perceiving negative experience as a sad process is a particularly motivating when positive expression experience delay and discomfort is immediate. The suffering and dislike. Why let something cut you wrong? Who cares? It makes you suffer. You care. So if you run our little scheme in your little action passion, you don't get what you want. If you especially if you choose your person to taste and cry, and why is that? Because you don't know what you don't know what you're doing. It's like time for some negative emotion. It indicates that you're wrong, and that's terrible in some sense because in my story, I don't always mean that you require pain. Now I don't believe that exactly because people who are curious, you know, and good to go being bigger and you learn new things very exciting. And so what it seems to be is that you can benefit from the possibility that give you a dopamine kick fundamentally. You can benefit from the possibility without being overwhelmed by the unexpected element of it. Can you can tell what has happened is the one of the coolest thing as far as I'm concerned.